Cloud. Good evening. It is Tuesday evening, April 4th, 2023. I'm Glenda Carlin. Now on Facebook, I have my complete name, Glenda Carlin Busick, B-U-S-I-C-K. But my husband passed in 2016 or so, and I go by my maiden name was in general, Glenda Carlin. But anyone watching this, if you want to private message me on Facebook, give me your email address and ask for any documents like the advanced forgiveness document I composed from the course in Gary Renard book, Disappearance of the Universe. Because without that book, I would not really have known what advanced forgiveness was. I am not kidding. I had gone to course lessons about 2004 or so, and the teachers weren't teaching advanced forgiveness. If they were, I didn't get it. And it wasn't for sure taught that we look past the form, past the body, to the invisible clear light of God that's here. We fake it while we make it. And you just simply thinking of your brother as spirit is the type of advanced forgiveness that Jesus teaches. But anyway, I have a document where I list quotes from the course and a meditation I did. Besides now doing I do sky gazing Dzogchen meditations, Buddhist meditations. But anyway, I can email you that document once I get your email address. And also I want to invite in first thing, all enlightened beings, ascended masters, Holy Spirit, Jesus, Buddha, be here now. We invite you in to inspire us with insights and in general have fun. And just to state a fact, they're always around, but cannot intrude on us. We have to invite them in. And that means you can invite them in as many times as you want during the day, because just picture when I go think egoic thoughts, they're excluded because I'm not leaning back into the nature, my Christ nature, feeling that spaciousness of spirit and feeling loving. But anyway, invite them in, regardless of, as soon as how you feel, you just simply remember to invite them in to help you. And then I want to acknowledge each person is a Holy Son of God, Christ or Buddha. So welcome, Holy Son of God, Edward, Holy Son of God, Angela, Holy Son of God, Nance, Holy Son of God, Gabriel, Holy Son of God, Danelle, Holy Son of God, Gonzalo, Holy Son of God, Sally, Holy Son of God, Glenda, and Holy Son of God, Miss Ryan. Hopefully she'll make it back in sometime. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, this evening, my topic is without having equal love for all beings, you can't have full enlightenment. Oh, she's trying again. Cancel, Miss Ryan's trying again. And when I was sitting in my chair thinking about my talk tonight, with Holy Spirit gave me the thought to look in the course. And I found a section that started me. It's in the course. It's in chapter 11, section 3. And this is the section that I found in 2014 that says you can't have one dark companion to be in the presence of God and be in heaven. And that's when I thought to myself, well, then I said some expletive, but I said, that means I'm never going there. Help me, Holy Spirit, help me. And in desperation, I asked for help, and the image of a book came to me. And that image later, when I was going through all my books that I had stored, I used to wholesale books and totes. I found the book Disappearance of the Universe from Gary Renard. I'd never opened it up, but I had it. And that's then that explained this advanced forgiveness. But the section I read, I'm going to just read it. But be holy in the presence of God, or you will not know that you are there. So see, now what I'm coming in the back door as to what my talk is tonight, because Now, this isn't a political talk. We've just labeled people as politicians because they can be family members, they can be your neighbor, they can be somebody from work or your childhood, that there still seems to be some disharmony or dislike to that person. So this isn't a political talk. And if a person loves Donald Trump, then they find a politician or somebody they dislike and do the practice I want to talk about tonight, which is thinking about everybody as God and that they're love. And that is coming to this whole section here that of holiness, of you got to be holy in the presence of God, or you cannot feel his presence and be in that union. If there's one part separate, and that's in this section, which I'm going to read. Oh, let's start on page 2. Here's the part of it, and I'll read the whole thing. For you cannot understand wholeness unless you are whole, and no part of the Son can be excluded if he would know the wholeness of his Father. Now, I would have never I never would have understood this until recently. That paragraph, it says, and no part of the Son can be excluded. What that's talking about is there really is only one Son of God. There really is. How many do you need? There's only one. There's only one. But what happened seeming to happen in the separation, that one Son of God blew his mind apart into these separate little segments or parts. So it says here, no part of the Son can be excluded. So that means all of you that are on the screen, each of you are a part of the Son of God. That makes the whole. Then that and to then you've included, it's called inclusion. You've included all parts of the sonship. Here comes Leon. Welcome, Holy Son of God, Teresa. Here comes Leon, Holy Son of God, Leon. So this is the crux of the talk tonight. You can't know wholeness unless you bring each part of the sonship, accept each part of the sonship into your heart. And it's a gradual process. As I look back on my awakening experience, many different times, it's dawned on me, and I've talked to you about lesson 183, that where in lesson 183, I put that in the email. I got these pieces of paper. That is, it's lesson 183. God's name is your name. Now that got me for the longest time. I never understood that or agreed with that, but I sure agree with that now, because think about it, there's only God. If there's only God, there can be nothing else, because he's it. He is the big man. He's our creator, the origin of all things. He's it. He created in his likeness the Son of God. And that's the Spirit, the love light of Spirit. Okay, but then when we seem to fall asleep, the one Son of God's mind split apart into these parts. So different times I found that lesson 183 and I talked to you about it. Then I'd go around and I would say God silently to everything that showed up in front of my face. When I'm out on my walk, I'm watching TV, I'd write little notes, sticky notes around and do it. And why I can say this is a gradual process, because for me and for most awakening, some people can do it in a heartbeat in just a flash, but in general, it's a gradual process, because the going from darkness to this complete light could shock the entire the mind in such a way to make have a psychotic break. The mind couldn't grasp all that light. And I can relate, because one time during my awakening process, so much light entered that I could barely walk. I was shifting from walking as a person to letting that light adjust in my body. There was that much light. And it took a couple of days for me not hardly doing anything, sitting to let that light and ask the Holy Spirit to help me assimilate that light through all my cells, through all, then. So I understand completely. This is a gradual process. And that's why I talk to you all about not having premature immaculation, because you have a lot of light experiences along the way. And I don't want you to get stuck thinking, oh, I'm home free, I've made it now, I'm awakened, or I'm enlightened, because it's a process. And due to Donald Trump being indicted, I thought I loved him, because I've been practicing through the last couple of years, this lesson 183. And it wasn't just Donald Trump. During the daily meditation I do with the Dzogchen group out of LA, I look at each person on the screen and practice this advanced forgiveness, calling them spirit, and seeing through their form to this vast emptiness of clear light that they are. And then when I get done looking at all these tiles, I'll do this whole Sangha group when we meditate on Sunday with Lama Surya Das's town hall. And then I put in Putin, I put in the Chinese leader, I put in the North Korean leader, I put in different leaders around the world that seem to be like the Chinese leader. They took over Tibet and blew up statues and killed hundreds of thousands of people. And it's just in the illusion that did not look kind, right? So I have been practicing on Trump too, and also Biden and other political figures. And then I just add in there my family members and et cetera. So it was really kind of a surprise to me when they said this indictment was going to happen. I observed in my mind that ego was happy about it and would even think, well, now he'll get his just deserve, right? And I went, oh, no, because that is not how I want to think. But see, with particular people, especially loved ones, or a person at a job that someone's had a conflict with, or any deep resentment, or it could be I've had some physical doing with Donald Trump in another lifetime. I don't know why I have this feeling, but I know enough with my practice of advanced forgiveness. What shows up in if there's a collective ego doing the collective dream, then I have my own dream, then whatever shows up in my face is what my forgiveness work is on. So it means that's if I just walk around during the day and just do my regular things like I used to, doing dishes, walking around, never thinking holy thoughts, that's not integrating A Course in Miracles into your life. And I also practice Dzogchen Buddhism. I'm not practicing in my life. So what I talk with you all about is becoming aware. As we awaken, we become more mindful and aware of what thoughts are going on in our mind, and we journal them, or we, as soon as we have that thought, we then I deny that thought. Now, I found here tonight a sentence that said, deny the darkness. And I wanted to read this to you. This is what I told ego. I'm not thinking that way. Donald Trump is my brother. I love him. He is God, because there's only God. And then I went through, every time I thought of him, I would say, God, I love you. Out walking, I'd go through my list of Putin, all the leaders, but it doesn't have to be just the people that we might tend to have a dislike for or an aversion to, because the two things that cause suffering in the world is clinging to things. We want it, we like it, we love it, or aversion, pushing things away. I don't like it. I hate it. Get that thing away from me. And both of those can be spiritually bypassed, which could mean when that thought came up about, well, he'll get his just comeuppance, that there's only one mind. He is part of me, he is me, because there's only the one Son of God. So anyway, I'm aware of my thought. And so in this, it says deny. Let me find this. Page 1 of 3. About deny the darkness. If you see the dark companion, see now dark companion. Now what that also means is it doesn't have to mean that a person's acting ignorantly and harming others. It just also means even the ones that are not acting harmful, that I think they're abiding. That's still a dark companion because I've not thought of them as a spirit and love, right? As a son of God or God. That's a dark companion. And that's why nowhere in the Course does it says just practice advanced forgiveness on the people you don't like. No, it says on everything that shows up in front of your face that you can remember, practice on. But here it says, if you see dark companions, it's because you're denying the light. Well, some part will, I was going to read this whole thing to you. But here it is, page 3. But deny them instead, for the light is here and the way is clear. So see, I didn't think to do this, and this could save you years off your marketing process, just to deny that thought. I'm not Glenda. I'll call my egoic self Glenda. I am not thinking that way. I'm holy, Spirit of God. I'm thinking of him as God and love. So it's called self-talk and reasoning with yourself. And that's why you've been born into this human body, because you can then use your mind to reason with yourself. And Jesus calls it reasoning in A Course in Miracles, where you're learning to sort true from false. So let me read this whole section here. And when Jesus talks about dark companions, he's talking about the dark way or illusion. See, the body is an illusion. The body's an illusion, but we never put the body in harm's way. We take care of it. And when we're awakened and enlightened, we embody this. Our bodies become thoroughly radiating light. It's illumined because the body's an image of the mind. And when the mind's illumined, all the chakras open, the subtle energy channel down the opens, this great ray, light, cord of lights coming in and going out of the body. And all the chakras, the light is circulating between them. And that's what happened to me. That's what I should remember to draw the conclusion here. As a result, to summarize, Holy Spirit showing me I had an egoic judgment about Donald Trump, me not denying that it's true, instead of having a spiritual bypass saying, oh, I love that man. That's not, no, la, la, la. No. I said, oh, yeah, that is right. Because, yeah, I had these thoughts and I agreed with the thoughts. Wow. But when I was going to the bathroom to get ready here tonight and, at the sink, brushing my teeth and stuff, I realized I was saying to Donald Trump, bless your heart. Because in the illusion, who wants to go to court? Who wants to be in a situation like that? Oh, dear. I mean, I don't wish that on anyone. Because see, now I wish him well. I wish him liberation, awakening, peace, happiness. I wish all those things for him that I wish for you all and for everyone, because what this comes down to is equal love to everyone. It's equanimous, it's equanimity, it's called sameness. We're all sons of God, all equal in spirit and love. Doesn't mean I invite anybody to Thanksgiving dinner if I don't want to, but yet how I think of the person. But the thing was, I didn't spiritually bypass my judgment since last Thursday through even today, but particularly yesterday. I was saying I love you, God, God, to Donald Trump every time I saw him on the TV, and along with everybody else that showed up, the reporters, cameramen, or whatever showed up, because it's a practice that includes everybody. But the thing is, I was sitting in my chair, and it was, I forget if it was Monday morning. I got the days that run together. And I fell asleep in my chair. And when I woke up, I feel the great ray light. It's a light flow. The living God, in the dualistic world of awakening, your heightened awareness, your awakened awareness, you become awakened to the spirit, this spirit that you are, and it's a light force, L-I-G-H-T. It's an energy, it's a light force. It comes in and it goes out. It's a movement, and it's usually a spiral movement. It changes, though. It was vertical in and out, and then it would spiral and whatever. And my chakras were partially, I thought they were open. You with me? But I am not kidding you. When I woke up, I felt this huge force of light. It was circling through me like a circle. It started, I felt the light was pouring off my head. It just was pouring down. But I saw what it was doing. It was circulating down, and it was going to the root chakra. And then it turned and it came back up through all the chakras, back up to the crown chakra. And then it would pour this light back down. And it was going in this circular motion, a huge movement. It was very large movement, not subtle. And I thought, well, gee, I thought all that stuff had all opened up. But that's why I explained to you, just keep staying open, because this deepens, it deepens. And I have no idea how this is going to deepen or change as far as the amount of light. Because again, because we're not used to light, that we're light beings. You are the light of the world, that Jesus says in A Course in Miracles. That light is powerful. It was so strong that I went, whoa, because it's a strong light. So I can't even imagine see what happens then in all these teachings in the Course and Dzogchen Buddhism. When you're integrating the truth, you ask Holy Spirit to help you remain open and help me integrate and stabilize this truth, meaning integrate it in your daily life, or if it's light, sitting with it and becoming comfortable with that light coming in and out of your form, out of your mind, out of your body, and it stabilizes. And when you get that stabilized, there's a whole nother gradual layer. There's all these layers, an unconscious mind that's deep as an iceberg that gets purified. So it is shocking to me the depth and the power of the light. But then I wondered, why did this happen? And it happened because I was overcoming a hidden hate that was stored in my unconscious mind. Oh, and I mean to also share, to me, every person that shows up in your life, every person, no, I'm not kidding, has been in your life in other lifetimes and represents other types of personalities you've been around, even in this lifetime, but other lifetimes. So if you can love someone that you've had ill will for, or a grievance, that is so powerful, because that one love, a conversion from a hate to a love, is one of the most powerful things that can happen. Then Jesus talks about that, because it's representative of all the hates, of different hates of that type person you've had throughout all lifetimes. So it's not a little thing that you're doing to come here to listen to Zoom talk like this and practice A Course in Miracles and to meditate and what other truths or books you read. It's huge. It's very, very huge. Oh man. So the culmination was I realized what had happened was this love had deepened where I felt love towards Donald Trump. And each time I would practice over these last 2 or 3 years, I would feel love for him. And I thought, well, that's a good feeling. I like that feeling, but it gets deeper. It's a deeper, even holy love. It gets a more stable, loving presence to it. But now, then I started thinking, besides the love, saying I love you to everything, I'm not kidding, to the good, whatever seemed to be good or bad. And I thought about what else I was doing was I had been reading in these, in A Course in Miracles. And remember last week, this was it, last week, where we found, when I was preparing for that talk, I found the paragraph where Jesus says, the one thing that can, page 2, the one thing you need is but truth. You with me? Here's what he says. That's lesson 251. I am in need of nothing but the truth. And I realized what happened. I was now aware of the truth. Donald Trump's my brother. He's part of me, he's part of me, part of the wholeness of the one Son of God. And in the God union, God is in us and we are in God. It's all intertwined in union. We're one. And it fell back to this lesson 251. I am in need of nothing but the truth. And throughout the course, Jesus says it's either love or the call for love. And of course, we can say these things. I've said these words, but to fully get it and understand the magnitude of it, it's huge. This is so huge. The simple thing of walking around silently saying, I love you to everybody, every trees, the highway, or a mailbox, it doesn't matter. Animate, inanimate. I love you. I love you. Because there's only love. That light that you are is soaked with love. And it's this holy love that doesn't separate, doesn't see good nor bad, happy or sad, like or dislike. It's a holy love. It's an equanimous equalness, the sameness of everybody's the same. And here's what Jesus says. I am in need of nothing but the truth. I sought for many things and found despair. Now do I seek but one, for in that one is all I need and only what I need. All that I sought before, I needed not and did not even want. My only need, I did not recognize. See, our only need, we don't recognize. Now, that doesn't mean we don't budget and plan and take care of our house or, take care of our car. So its maintenance is okay, and your body. But put things in perspective and recognize what's the only thing you need. But now I see that I need only truth. In that, all needs are satisfied. All cravings end, all hopes are finally fulfilled, and dreams are gone. And see that what's happened. Dreams are gone. I no longer believed in the delusion of separation of a separate form. And as a result, I've heard people say that could be one of your final lessons that could unblock you. And won't this be something to write about or remember? Practice an advanced forgiveness on Donald Trump and other political leaders like Putin, the Chinese leader, helped do one of the final unclogging of these chakras where the light that I am can flow freely within my form. Dreams are gone. And now have I everything that I could need. Now have I everything that I could want. What we denied ourselves, you have restored. And only that is what we really want. And see, I did nothing about releasing that light. I simply love my brother. Oh, man. And it gains a momentum. And when we do our forgiveness work, then Holy Spirit can heal unconscious guilt, unconscious judgment thoughts that are in the unconscious mind. And evidently that was clogging, that were clogging this light where it couldn't freely circulate. And see, a circle is representative of oneness. A circle, there's no start or stop to a circle. It's complete. A circle is complete. And the one meditation that Jesus has in the Course of Miracles about that an arc of light extends into a circle, and then the light within the circle extends to cover everything. He even covers that a circle is representative of wholeness, completion, union. Now that, and I wanted to read about the dark companion thing. So I'm going to read the dark companion thing. You cannot enter God's presence with the dark companions beside you. So now what that means, people that we have judgments on, that we truly believe they're a body, whether we love them and have no resentment. But if you really believe that person's a body, 99% of the time, you're not thinking of them as spirit. That's why it's so important, as often as you think of a loved one or someone you don't like, that they're spirit. Because as you think that way, because there's only one mind, your unconscious mind will start to believe you're only spirit. And things happen where it gains a momentum of its own. And it's easier and easier to remember that these aren't dark companions. You cannot enter God's presence with the dark companions beside you, but you cannot enter alone. All your brothers must enter with you, for until you have accepted them, you cannot enter. Now, that's the paragraph I read. I thought, well, I'm never going to heaven then, because how do you get the whole sonship in your mind? How do you accept the whole sonship? How in the heck? Well, with that thought process, the sonship and the universe looks huge out there, right? Well, that's just a projection we made up. I finally sit with that the mind and the heart, they end up that they have union. It's called heart mind. That's then the mind becomes loving, very loving, empathetic, and compassionate, and full of wisdom. So you get a union of wisdom and compassion, but it's an actual union, I'm not kidding you, of heart and mind that becomes an etheric chakra that's outside your form. And you can research that and just investigate it's true.
Or ask for your music.
My phone hears me talking. Siri thinks I'm asking a question. Is just investigate that. So it's beyond that the body has chakras. You also open up to these etheric spiritual realm that you really are, and that all this unites with. But anyway, that heart is larger than any universe. Your heart, your Christ heart, Buddha heart is bigger than any universe. You can actually just visualize, that your heart is that large, that the whole universe is just flowing right through you. Like you see it moving when you see, a documentary on the solar systems and all. They're breathing, they're moving in and out due to this life force. But anyway, you will ultimately accept the whole sonship into your mind and heart. It happens. If you will practice Jesus's advanced forgiveness of faking it while you making it, say, I love you and God to all these things, and finally you will believe it. It does happen. Let's see what else came. Oh, I had a picture in my email. Do y'all see that picture where I sent a picture of, I didn't print it out in color, but there was a picture. Now this looks like kind of like a flower, but if you look in my email, this is in color, different colors. It's yellow like the sunlight, the light that you are. this helped me gain an understanding of how things work, because that's what'll happen. You get an understanding of how things work, so you get a little more comfort and in letting things come and go and the flow of things. Is that this life force, this God, whatever you want to call it, this living force that is us, this spirit, this light, is forever creative. It's forever creative. The Son of God created the Garden of Eden. And what he did, he used his light, these extensions out from, this is the life, it's showing the life force. This is like an amoeba. If you look up on Google, an amoeba has like a center, and then amoeba, it'll have just little extensions come out from it, naturally comes out. Well, source, what it did, we used our light energy to animate forms. So picture your form as like a puppet, like a finger. This is a finger. There's light that comes out to each person, but there's a cord that goes to it. But I want you just to see, this light extends out and animates each of you from source. It's actual living force that's here now. You don't have to die to go to heaven. That's why it's called awakening and enlightenment, so you can experience this heaven on earth now. There really is no separation between heaven and earth, only in the mind. We've made up the separation and with negative mind thoughts created the darkness out of this life energy. But as you awaken, you purify your thoughts, and you're undoing, you're unlearning these egoic thoughts to get back to your Christ Buddha natural mind, your natural heart mind, your natural breath, the natural body that's here. But you're not the body, but you're aware that this life force is animating it. Or you couldn't move your arms. You couldn't be here. You couldn't turn on your laptop. That energy, that life force is in you, animating you now. The light you see when you look in the mirror in your bathroom or wherever, that life force is you. That is your true essence. And that essence isn't stopped just because I'm a body and you're a body. It flows freely through this form. The form is like just a flesh suit, like you can unzip it and lay it out flat, and the whole universe is just flowing through it. All these forms just come and they go on this light force, this God energy, whatever you want, origin of all things, whatever you want to call it. Jesus calls it God. Now, if you're a Muslim, they call it something else. If you're Jewish, they call it something else. I mean, it's just a placeholder. But anyway, that's what you awaken to. And what really helped me was meditation. Without meditation, I wouldn't have mastered, the mind, because the mind thinks everything divides it and sorts it and wants to grab onto it or push it away. So I highly recommend meditation, where you actually, the body's not used to sitting on a cushion or a chair. It just wants to go. It's a form that's telling you what to do. You're taking back charge. You're taking back control, master of your body and mind. And the only way to do that is meditation. And what I learned is it's not through squishing thoughts, because that will not happen. That's not for me and Dzogchen Buddhism, not because egoic mind will never stop. That's just like taking a balloon and sitting on a balloon and it squashes. You think the thoughts are gone, but they're going to bust out somewhere. They're going to come out somewhere. So in this meditation is called sky gazing. We let thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky, because they're just thoughts. These are thoughts, like Jesus teaches us in the Course, because the thoughts I think, show up as images. I think I see them. So we think them. They show up as these projected images, so we think we see them. He says that's called image making. That's not seeing. But to get freed, liberated from the thinking mind, liberated from this thinking mind, which Lama Surya Das calls us thinkaholism. Don't you love that? Thinkaholism. We're addicted to thoughts. We're not in charge of our mind. Our mind's telling us what to do. And that's one thing I realized what happened. I'm going from thinkaholism to love-aholism, loving everything. And it seems, and it sounds, well, not, you know, kind of hippie-like or 60s or something, but truly that's what Jesus teaches. Love is all there is. Love will free you if love will free you. Now, there's so many things I could do, but that's pretty much the gist. And see, I would have never thought that this light could circle and get any more wonderful, but it did. It broke free, and it does its thing more freely than it's ever done. Oh, wow. So you really are a light being that's dancing with life, L-I-F-E, dancing with life. That means whatever shows up in front of your face, oh, I know what I want to read to you. Oh, this is so cool. This is this dance with life, And Lama Surya Das will say, it's not the cards you're dealt, it's how you play the hand that matters. Because see, look at our karma or our life, whatever we agreed to in this lifetime, is showing up in front of our face, right? So in this book, Law of One, it's a channeled book like the A Course in Miracles is. I came upon a paragraph that I wanna read, which talks about, uses a card game as the metaphor of life. This is in book 2. Now, all the books, I bought the books in a 5 series. The books, Law of One, could be in, they published it in different forms. So this was book 2, page 127. And the metaphor they're talking about is a card game. And here it is. Let us examine this card game, and multiply it into the longest poker game you can imagine, a lifetime. The cards are love, dislike, limitation, unhappiness, pleasure, etc. He's telling you what the cards look like. Some cards got love on them, some dislike, limitation, unhappiness, pleasure. They are dealt and redealt continuously. You may, during this incarnation, begin, and we stress begin, to know your own cards. You know, you're recognizing what's going on in my life, what's showing up in front of my face. You may begin to find the love within you. See, this whole talk is really about love. Here, this is Ra. This is a person that channels through this woman. He's named Ra. Now, the other thing I've learned from this, if you ever hear a voice, Holy Spirit does talk to people, always clarify, well, anymore I ask, thank you, Holy Spirit, because there's other spirits out there. So that's why if you ever feel a little confused about what answer you get, just wait, sit with it. Makes not that you're not confused or whatever. Try it, do a little bit, then adjust, adapt. But anyway, I'm going to go back to this. The card, okay, let us examine this card game and multiply it into the longest poker game you can imagine, a lifetime. The cards are love, dislike, limitation, unhappiness, pleasure, etc. They are dealt and redealt continuously. You may, during this incarnation, begin to know your own cards. You may begin to find the love within you. You may begin to balance your pleasure, your limitations, etc. However, your only indication of other selves, he calls other people, other selves, selves, selves cards, is to look into their eyes. See, that's that light that's in their eyes. You can, in next paragraph, you cannot remember your hand, their hands, perhaps even the rules of the game. Because see, that's what happens in a lifetime. First you agree with it, and then you get incarnated and you forget, what the hell did I agree to? This game can only be won by those who lose their cards in the melting influence of love, can only be won by those who lay their pleasures, their limitations, their all upon the table, face up, lay all your cards face up on the table, and say inwardly, all of you players, each other self, meaning everybody out there, each other self, whatever your hand, I love you. This is the game: to know, to accept, to forgive, to balance, and to open the self in love. This cannot be done without the forgetting, for it would carry no weight in the life of the mind, body, spirit, beingness, totality. So he's saying, don't you love how this enlightened being is presenting A Course in Miracles? That it's a poker game, perhaps the longest poker game you can imagine, a lifetime. How are you going to play these cards? The cards are love, dislike, limitation, unhappiness, pleasure. The cards could be those 10 fetters we studied a couple of weeks back. Ignorance, all these obstacles or chains that impatience, not being compassionate and empathetic to your brothers, not wishing well-beingness and happiness to your brothers, all brothers, everybody. Virtues, having these virtues, but you cannot remember your hand, their hands, perhaps even the rules of the game. This can only be won by those who lose their cards in the melting influence of love. You have to just throw up, can only be won by those who lay their pleasures, their limitations, they're all upon the table, face up. Just throw your cards face up. Meaning, see, that's why I talk about not having spiritual bypass. When that ego mind said those thoughts, I could have simply said, I don't know, I love him. No, Holy Spirit was showing me you don't. And I agreed, and I worked on my darkness. I'm being honest with yourself. And what happens as you become more honest with yourself and practice forgiveness on more things, then you soften, you relax into the spirit and love you are. Then Holy Spirit can open your heart and your unconscious mind some more to these slings and arrows of life that we've had, that you don't even remember these things that happened, but yet there was a judgment there that's buried in the unconscious mind. These judgments get all lifted up. They get lifted up by the winds of love for you to look at. Forgive. By forgive means you think of the person or situation as spirit. Now, if you have some really rough things in life, you may need some help, a psychotherapist and some people to help you, because some of these things can be traumatic. So we're gentle with ourselves. We don't beat ourselves up that we're not addressing some of these things. You don't abruptly make decisions without support of family, friends, or therapists, because ego loves nothing better than to just start some chaos in your life, make something worse that already there could have been something not so pleasant going on. But don't you love this? By those who upon the table face their cards up and say, all of you players, each others, he calls other, OTHER dash self, each other self. Because see, like Buddhism, we talked about that. Dzogchen calls it a self concept. A Course in Miracles calls it ego, where we're believing in a separate body. But ultimately, it's believing in a self, a personality, a role, and a body. But this particular enlightened being calls it an other self. Whatever your hand, you saying to everybody, whatever your hand, whatever politician, whatever leader, I love you. Don't you love it? He said, this is the game: to know, to accept, to forgive, to balance, and to open the self in love. And this can't be done without the forgetting, which is that advanced forgiveness. Well, anyway, wow. When I read that, I went, whoa, that's the Course. I love you. Okay. Anyone having any thoughts or comments or anything you want to share tonight before I stop the recording? I love you guys so much. Yeah, Gonzalo's text chatting us. Meditation brings clarity, relaxes the ego. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Train our minds to be with spirit. Yes, yes. And you know, Gonzalo emailed me because it's typical. He said, I don't know if you want to comment on this, Gonzalo. I asked Holy Spirit before I wrote that email, because some people can really blow up when you start talking about politicians. But that's why I wrote the email and said, if you already love Trump, then think about a politician or a person that you don't like and practice on them. You know, there's always an opportunity to practice on people we think that are less than spirit, that are less than perfect, because we're perfect in spirit, perfect in love. But we, you know, out in the illusion sure looks like it's not perfect, but, and we are guided what to do or say and to help out in the world. Like I recycle, have a drive efficient vehicle. I mean, I'm trying to do my part about the environment because it's precious. See, we created, the Son of God created Earth, the solar system, the universes, we created it. It contains love and spirit and light. And with our thoughts, we're screwing it up. You know, it can be healed. It can be purified. We do our part. Yes, Gonzalo. Yes, Gonzalo, feel free to unmute yourself. I can't unmute you.
Okay.
Yep. Now
Yeah,
you're
thanks thanks for sending that email about Trump, because what happens, I found that so many course groups kind of censor topics because they don't want to piss people off. And you know,
Yes.
what has the ego masterfully trained us to avoid in conversation? Don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion, don't talk about race, don't talk about sex. All the intensely sensitive topics that we've learned to avoid are precisely where we need to go to be able to free ourselves from the identity in these things. So, you know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it kind of, again, it just kind of calls out how the ego sneaks into our spiritual practice and, oh, can't talk about that. Why? Because we might piss people off, might piss ourselves off. So it's important. I'm glad you did that, because, you know, I when I did group, I never censored anything. I was like, people, you can be mad as hell at me or anything. The whole point is to practice this with our grievances. And we can't do that if we're trying to censor people. That's really kind of a reflection of what we do in the world. You know, we see all these tensions and all these hatreds that have become so intense. Well, for so long, we've censored each other with all of the political correctness. You can't say this, you're gonna piss this, and no, you gotta, you know, language your, you know, stuff very carefully, because, and this has enabled the ego to take full charge of our identities in this world that have to be protected from offense of others, and see how this goes. So this stuff never gets blown up unless we just allow it to come up and say, okay, you feel that way. Well, let's go back to what Jesus says in the Course about how we look at the root cause of where these grievances come from. It's not coming from each other. It's not coming from the words. You know, let's look at the root cause there with Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And then again, the ego has taught us to skillfully avoid those topics. I'm really glad you addressed that, because we need to have more allowance. I think the world is hurting for a genuine place of openness, you know.
Well, it's wonderful. Yes, because I thought, well, this really could piss some people off, but that then is their deal. Because one thing that Jesus teaches in the course is use our mood and feelings. So when I'm irritated because there's something within me. It's something I need to look at, that I don't believe there's wholeness, you know. It comes from me, my thoughts. He's my brother. I mean, it's how we're all one, all these parts. It's like seeing you as one cell, each person being one cell within the one Christ body of the one Son of God that, you know, that created all this. And in reality, of course, there's no bodies, bodies, no bodies, but we embody that light radiates out in this dualistic Garden of Eden. But anyway, we're spirit, but we gotta recognize the thoughts, become mindful of the thoughts in my own damn mind, and not agree with them, turn them over to the Holy Spirit, but practice on them. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
Yeah, thank you. That's just, again, it's so straightforward and simple. We have to allow the stuff that we've repressed our whole life to come up, so we can then look at it through the eyes of truth, and not continue to deny and say, you know what, that's something we just don't need to talk about. We don't need to go there. Why? Come on, let's get, you know, this is exactly the shit that the world has taught us. And so, you know, it is so important. And that's why, I mean, there are few and far in between groups that speak about stuff like this. You know, they might maybe kind of skirt it a little bit, but don't really allow the grievance to come up in full view, because, you know, the ego's convinced us to stay away from certain topics, you know. And, you know, I'm one that says, you know, the racist, the sexist, let them say whatever the hell they want to say, you know. Why? Because the mere fact that we fight and we try to censor each other is precisely how the ego has gotten a hold of our minds and control of our minds. It's because we're afraid of being offended or offending others. That's exactly where the ego wants us to stay. That way we never allow our genuine self to come up. We never allow our God-given self to arise past the worldly identity, the words, the categories, you know, be it their, you know, political or social or racial or ethnic or cultural or whatever. We never allow ourselves to rise beyond that, because we're so imprisoned within the lines of control that the ego has taught us to stay behind. So I say let it all up, you know. Well,
Gonzalo, you brought up a point I hadn't thought about. Each of our families we were born into, our lifestyles, our families, our schooling has led to different statements that we believed in, right? Like, racist or not racist, or labeling German people a certain way, or depending on the family that was. I get what you're saying, and that's what Holy Spirit, as you soften to this forgiveness work, then he'll bring to you more of these things for you to look at and forgive, and to acknowledge, oh yeah, I've been thinking that way. Yes, but without, I know what else I wanted to say is, you never know when some huge grievance that you've had gets healed. That could release so many things you don't even know. It could liberate you so you have no idea, because see, I had no idea. And I really look back on this 3.5 years since I found Dzogchen Buddhism. I've been on the fast track, because see, I was open and receptive to intertwining Buddhism with the Course, because I needed to hear these sentences a little different way to then go back, oh yeah, that's what Jesus meant. But the bigger deal was these chants and prayers that opened up my heart because I was into the words, the intellectualizing. I understood the words, but my heart had not opened to be the empathy and compassion and love and love and love. But Jesus and Holy Spirit takes you wherever you are and will bring to you what needs to be healed. And that's why you become mindful of what the heck I'm thinking. Like the other day, I was talking to somebody. Oh, I remember, but I won't say their name to protect the guilty. And the topic came up on 2 or 3 people. And the person kind of said to me, oh, there wasn't a problem with them. And see, I look back on my life when, as I got more freed and opened up, Holy Spirit would bring back my relationship I had in college. Then it brought up my relationships I had at work, that first job I had. And I thought, oh, I'd already forgiven those people. Well, why was I thinking about those people? Well, because Holy Spirit brought them to me to think about, to practice forgiveness on them. Doesn't mean I was done with them, that everything was perfect. But anyway, or the concept here is whatever you're thinking about is there for you to practice forgiveness on. That's what I've realized.
And the fact that we keep it shoved down out of awareness and keep it repressed,
yes.
It doesn't allow us a clear view for it to see. That's why it's so powerful to, practice the no private thoughts primarily within with the Holy Spirit, and then from there. But if we don't, journaling, or whether it's in therapy, or really just having a no private thoughts within, just with the Holy Spirit and Jesus, just to jot down the shit that we have felt very ashamed and guilty, offended of. Very people that call themselves on the spiritual path ever do that. And it's precisely why we never get past our ego blocks. And you kept saying in this last exchange, you kept talking about openness and open-heartedness. That's one of the things that is a recurring theme in that book, The Law of One. They keep referring to free will and openness and being open. And I interpret that as the Holy Spirit being open-minded, which of course is one of the characteristics that Jesus tells us of the teachers of God, being open-minded. And without being open-minded, if we're closed-minded, including not being open to examining why we're so pissed off and so grievous at certain things, at certain people, at certain words, at certain phrases, why we have such grievances against certain things. If we're so closed off to not even allow it to come up, to look at it, we'll never get past these ego blocks, ever. And so the open-mindedness is a absolute bedrock of our advancement on the journey.
Oh, Gonzalo, so perfect. And I say this, I'm not kidding, each day, each morning, before I get out of bed, I remain open, relaxed, and surrendered to spirit. Guide me what to do or say. But I have those, and I never thought about, why did I put that all together? I want to remain open, relaxed, surrendered to spirit. Guide me what to do or say. But something came to me while you were talking, and we'll get to you, Angela, I hope you can stay, is in this Dzogchen Buddhism, this Lama Surya Das would talk about, and I never understood this, I'm not kidding. There's called 5 perfections. This perfect time, perfect place, perfect student, perfect teacher. Now forget what the 5th one is. But picture this is, as you become aware of what's in your mind and you're practicing forgiveness on that, and then you'll integrate, you'll journal, or you'll have a note somewhere. Oh yeah, that family member or that person at work, I gotta, I want to say, I love you, God. I don't know how many times it'll take to say that. Each person, then grievance is different. But what will happen as you do that becomes the perfect, that's it, the perfect teaching. The teaching was that thought, that image of that person. Then the perfect time, the next will show up another image. So that means it's the perfect time. Another image will show up. The perfect teaching, the perfect time, the perfect teacher, the perfect student, it becomes a flow. Picture this, it's a flow. If you don't grasp onto this, like Gonzalo was just talking about, oh, I'm not looking at that. I took care of that. Oh, I don't. I heard a person say the other day, and I won't say their name either. Nobody here. I don't judge anymore. Oh, I just had to take a breath. Because judgment is just the default mechanism, sorting good and bad. And even they don't have to be bad. Judgment is just judging that you're a body, that you're walking. I see you in the, oh, there's a body. And I never think to go, oh, no, that was spirit. When I get done out in the parking lot, who did I see in there? And oh, they're all spirit, they're all God. But the point is, these thoughts, it's a flow. Holy Spirit knows what you need, and it will bring to you what you need by these thoughts, or you'll pick a book up and read some, or somebody on TV will say something, or you'll see something, and by your mood and feelings, you recognize, oh, that's something I'm to practice forgiveness on. This is a flow. This is for your highest good, for you to recognize this, practice on it, and let things come and go without attachment and aversion. You still have your loved ones, you still love them, but you remember that's another talk about their cord of light is free. They are free. You are free. You're not entangled. If you'd go bonkers if they passed away, granted we'll grieve, but depending on how manic happy you would get if something good happens, or how depressed and awful it is, it goes the other direction, tells you the mind, the calmness, how you're doing with your mind work. But anyway, this is a beautiful practice, doing the lessons in A Course in Miracles. It's a beautiful practice. You're slowly undoing this false ego, because Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, there's two voices, but only one of them's true. Holy Spirit. Yeah, their ego is false, And matter of fact, Lama Surya said the other day, what did he say? Oh, there's a YouTube channel, like I've got one, but he has one, and I'll listen to different YouTube topics he's got, and you can just get a better feel for what Jesus is talking about when he talks about wholeness and union, and that there is really no nirvana, no heaven, no hell, no samsara. These are just thoughts. These are just good and bad thoughts, labeling we've done. There's simply this spirit of the origin of all things, source, that's animating all forms. It's how we think about it and how we play our cards, how we act from those cards. Don't you love this? Anyway, thanks, Gonzalo. Okay, Angela, thank you for waiting. You got to unmute, though, Miss Angela. Unmute. You're still muted. There you go.
Thank you for having me again.
Great to have you.
I had two things I wanted to share tonight, and so I'll just give you an example of. It was Monday, and I had a busy day, and I was going over to have an interview with personal support workers for Mom, as I've probably shared that with her, telling, being privately cared at home. So that kind of carried on, and everything was good. I was in spirit, and I went on with going into the supermarket, on my next errand, and my son gave me a call, and he's having a discrepancy about finances, about a computer that he bought, and he was kind of chit-chatting with me. And then I had another call, and then I got home, and I got on the phone with my other sister-in-law, and I could feel the ego was really playing, because I was like, I think we just start to recognize we have more self-awareness. And I, went back and realized, whoa, this ego is playing. I was unconscious, like you saying, I wasn't looking at everything as spirit that day. And I got, when I got off the phone, I was like really hard on myself, saying, wow, I must have been showing her lots of anxiety. but then I texted her something, and then she texted back, and there was an LOL at the end. So I thought she probably wasn't even feeling what I was feeling. So, and I want to say in that day, my when I was at my mom's, I was leaving, my sister-in-law had stopped by, and she's never one to hug or kiss me, and she gave me a hug and kiss. When I was coming home, I ran into my little grandson, and I got out the car and I gave him a big hug. And so the day balanced out, where I really could feel, the love and recognize the little miracles, because I call them miracles because that's love is in the air. So yeah, I think, as you say, we are still working on that ego, and we're not always out there. It's not seeing the Christ in someone or the spirit. But, if we can still keep on the self-awareness, that's kind of
Yes.
the, and so I just wanted to share that, that, a long time ago, I might have just kept going on with that whole story
Yes.
about
Yes.
my phone call, about my
Yes.
whole day being crap because I had to deal with that. And it wasn't really like that. It was just in that moment I taught myself that, playing on a weakness that I was feeling. And so
See, that's huge. That is huge, because that's the difference between being awake or asleep. Is we're aware of what we're thinking. And I want to go back here just a second to clarify, when it was one of my neighbors in my neighborhood about, no, because I was talking to him I remember what it was. James Cameron was interviewed on CNN, and my friend was saying Avatar came from a dream when he was a young child. And I explained to her, well, when you're a young child, you haven't developed this individuated personality, and that's blocking these images and holy thoughts from coming to you, and things are just flowing in the mind, right? And that's why we meditate, so we can not judge. And then when that person says, I don't judge anymore. What I want to clarify is, no matter when you're awakened, ego's not left. Ego's still there. It's what Angela's talking about. We're just awake and conscious. We're awake and conscious of what in the heck's going on in the mind, and awake and aware what's going on around me. Because if something's going on around me that's kind of odd or something, that's another insight or lesson from Holy Spirit. How am I looking at what's going on around me? It's the choice of how I'm looking at things. So ego, I thought, you think when you're awakened or illumined, you're not going to think these thoughts. No, ego's still going to have these thoughts come through, but you're simply awake and conscious of them, and you choose not to do it. Like I'll say, I forget, one day it was something like, some food came to mind. I went, no, I'm not hungry. I'm not going to eat that. I mean, I had a choice. Now, and years ago, I went, wow, that sounds good. I'm going to eat that. Well, wait. Well, and later I go, why'd I do that? I wasn't really hungry. So you become awake and conscious of your mind is awakened. It's a heart mind. So it's beautiful. It's beautiful, isn't it, Angela? Way to go. It's huge. But through meditation, you become mindful of when your mind has wandered off with the grocery list or where you went last weekend and you had this great time, and you bring your thought back to that vertical spacious, centered line or space, and then the mind wanders off again because you're aware your mind wandered. You're aware of that thought, and then you just bring it back. You don't beat yourself up about it, but because it's huge, so powerful that you were aware your mind wandered and you brought it back. And Angela was aware her mind was doing, and you can usually, you can get that feeling, the feeling. It's more contracted when it's in ego. It's just a whole different kind of know-it-all feeling. Not open, relaxed, and surrendered like Gonzalo was talking about. Yes, Angela.
Oh, and I could laugh at myself after. Like I can't believe I was on that. Like, wow, what was that? I gave it. What does that mean? Why was I? It's just, and it's like, you know what? it's all gone by, and it really
Oh.
meant nothing. You know, it was nothing.
Well, see, there you go. That's what I learned from this Dzogchen Buddhism meditation. If I let thoughts come and go, they'll come and go. It's when I stop and think, oh, what the hell was that? I don't like that. No, or beat myself up or beat them up. What they mean by that, then I'm really labeling, judging. Now, granted, you may need to have set boundaries in your family unit. I don't know. I'm not saying it's a free for all. No, not by any means, because we're not psychological doormats physically or emotionally to anybody, not at all. We call 911 when we need to, and then practice forgiveness on everybody involved, meaning your spirit, not a body. But anyway, it becomes a mindfulness, an awakened awareness, and we're choosing whether to do something consciously or not. And that's the dance with life then, as we're remembering each other as spirit and we are loving each other. That's the bottom line. We're remembering its spirit is animating as all these different beautiful forms here in this Zoom meeting. Light is, just picture lights just shooting in your body, animating your form and your mind. That's spirit, light, energy, love. Wow. Anybody else have any comment or anything before I
Can
stop?
Can I just
Yes.
share this? You know what?
Yes.
This is really quick.
Oh, good. Gabriel's got something. Go ahead, Angela.
So I came across, me, I always want to read these things, but I thought this was a nice little reminder when you were talking about, Trump and just using that as an example, but, like what's going on in the world. So can I just read this if anyone would
Yes.
like to?
Oh, and before you read it, I need to clarify. So if somebody hears this, that they love Donald Trump, maybe they have a dislike for Biden. It doesn't matter. Whatever your dislike is, whether it's a politician or a situation or a person, that's the crux of this teaching tonight. Mine just happened to be because of this news. I'm not a news addict, but I'll watch the news once in a while, that this thing of Trump came up. But anyway, go ahead, Angela.
Okay, so this is a little thing that I've been finding very helpful that was passed on to me. So it says, Holy Spirit, please help me to forgive myself for having unknowingly used, and then you can put a name in there, my partner, my brother, my sister, my friend, sickness, financial scarcity, to attack myself and to separate from your love as my holy self. I just thought that was like,
Wow.
when I'm looking at something, it's a kind of a quick, but I keep it here on the side now. So I want to read that every day just to remind myself when I get those separate thoughts of love.
Wow. Oh,
That's
beautiful. That's beautiful. See, your sticky notes, your reminders.
Of our holy self.
Yes. Yes. Way to go, Angela. You're practicing your integrating.
There's only one of us, and there's only one of us here.
Yes, there's only one. Each are a part of the whole, the one Son of God that's part of the source, intertwined, all one. Yes, yes, Gabby. Thank you, Angela. Yes, Gabby, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I'll make a quick comment. I know it's getting on time, but I really like the idea of the cards. We're dealt a hand of cards, and it kind of reminded me also that the script is written, that we have, we've been given a script. And when you see other people in terms of them having their script, that's all that is. And what's behind that is spirit. What's behind that is love. So if we can, and that for me, it helps me to look like at Trump, because I have the same visceral response to him. And I know it's one of ego's big ones for me to really learn to try to overcome. And I see it as, if that's his script, I can look past that script. That's the script.
To his spirit. to his silently calling spirit, Christ, Buddha, or God, something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
silently say that to him. You can't just let it, just it's a great understanding you have, but to actually practice silently saying Christ, Buddha, or God to him. Every time you think about him or see him, it's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. 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 I
And
do
I
that
love
with,
you.
with people that I see, I'm remembering to do that more and more, which is awesome. But of course I forget, and then sometimes I'll do it later.
Sticky
But
note, yes.
this is the big one, right? These are the big ones you mentioned, like Putin and
Yes.
Chinese leader and that. But if we see that, those are the scripts that they're playing out. And then if we can look past the script, that helps me a little bit more anyway. I just thought I would mention that.
Thank you. Yes, the course says the script we've agreed to is written, and that script though contains all the different choices, and I think there could be billions in that script, because even in a given day, then when I leave my house to do an errand can change 2 or 3 different times in the scene, and there's no time and space, but that's 3 different choices, 3 different scripts. Then I'm out driving at a different time, on the road at a different time, at the store where I'm going at a different time, meeting different people, thinking about different people. But also, can I be guided by Holy Spirit, which one of those times to leave? Like one time, Gary Renard asked Art and Persa in Disappearance of the Universe, why did he go to this horrible movie? Wished he had never gone. And Art and one of them told him, well, if you had gone to the movie you wanted to go to, you would have been in a horrific car accident. So I highly recommend to be aware of what thoughts are in your mind. If you get ready to get in your car and you have the thought, oh, I got to go see, did I close that door or do something? Go back and do it. Or I got the wrong shoes on. You think, well, that's ego. No, you go back in the house, change those shoes or get a jacket. Oh my. It changes when you went out on the road. It can save your life. Not I'm being paranoid here, but that script contains billions of choices in there that were agreed to. And how often you practice A Course in Miracles or whatever truths you practice, how diligent you are, that makes a difference too. If I can somehow motivate any one of you to practice more in your truths more often, motivate you to do it more often, motivate you to meditate, it will quicken your path. It'll cut off years of your awakening process. Therefore, your suffering will be less as well. It's just like, I forget, last Sunday, Lama Surya Das does a free Sunday town hall meditation. In it, he was talking about stuff, and where one of the gurus said to some disciple or person asked the guru some really, said, oh, pull up your socks, meaning, get to work on doing this practice. The guy was fast on his feet and said, oh, I don't have any socks. And Lama Surya said, well, the guru is even more on his feet and says, well, then pull up your pants, God damn it. Just go get on it. What's your excuse here? You think, just la-di-da, la-di-da. Now you can la-di-da, but if you want to wake up, get on it like your hair's on fire, practice. That script will go to a different script that cut off 2 years of your process, or whatever. But anyway, thank you, Gabby. Thank you. Well, if no more thoughts or comments, let's take this time, look at everybody on the screen and think of them as spirit. Do your forgiveness work. Edward, we're doing forgiveness work. Okay, see how simple and easy that was? Yo, that's so beautiful. Well, I love you guys. Oh, next week's lesson, somebody emailed me from Kazakhstan, somewhere in the Middle East, about forgiveness. My talk next week's going to be on Jesus's advanced forgiveness and how I practice it. Just the whole thing's all on that. And it's based on that document, 4-page document that I composed from the course, Dzogchen, and Gary Renard's book. That's next week. I love you guys. Thanks for coming out. I'm going to stop the recording now.